Top 10 PlayStation 5 hidden facts you didn't know. Welcome to All Things Sony. Let me know in the comments what you liked or disliked about the video, and if you liked it, a sub would be appreciated. Let's get this shit started. I don't want to waste any of your time. I want to make a short video of all the findings I've made with all of the PlayStation 5 news and whatnot. So, we are going to talk about the top 10 facts that you may not have known. So, as you can see at the top of the screen here, we thought that, when we did analysis, when everybody did analysis online about the PlayStation interface user experience video, how they had, if you could pause it, switcher. And we thought that that was PlayStation 5's version of quick resume. Well, it turns out there is no such thing as quick resume. Every next gen console, every console in general has their own thing that they typically do. This one could be slightly disappointing, you know what I mean? Because it's, these are fast consoles and maybe you have a couple of games that you normally play and you just want to get right into it. At first I thought it was kind of disappointing until I heard about the next fact that's going to be coming up. You need to kind of realize that with quick resume, shit could happen, crashes. It makes the system and OS unstable. You got memory leakage and things like that, and some games won't support it just inherently. So definitely be mindful of that. Sometimes it's just not worth it, and it eats too much of, it has some performance penalties. So it's not all bad, but we're going to move on to the next fact here. One thing that was cool that I just, with all of my research, with all of these videos online until I can get my hands on the PlayStation 5, is that during the user experience, you saw whatever host the guy's name was. He basically was showing you how they have cards and that you can jump in the activity straight from the dashboard, home page, whatever you want to call it. Now, as you know, even if these consoles load lightning fast, you still, or the developer is still obligated to, display splash screens, whether it's using the Havoc engine or whatever they have going on. It has the splash screens in there, which is super annoying because the games could definitely load quicker and they have to give homage to it. I don't know what's going on with that. Regardless of the matter, that even with quick resume on the Xbox, you still have a small splash screen before you are able to play the game itself. These particular cards or activity cards teleport you and bypass all of those, splash screens and whatnot. So typically you can get into the game because it doesn't have to display all that shit. You could literally get into the game in like 4 seconds, kind of circumventing the fact that it doesn't have it, and kind of circumventing different, flaws and limitations of, quick resume and how that would eat into memory or make things unstable. Next, lots of people were questioning what the fuck. When they had the surround sounds and the Pulse headsets, the white ones, the new ones for the PlayStation 5, I don't, really feel too much of a difference. I don't really notice a difference. It's not about it being a totally different effect, although it is, and although a lot of games are not utilizing it to its maximum capabilities. It's the launch of it's the launch of the console, so they're not going to have all of that shit there. You know what I mean? Or they're not going to get the gist of it. It's new. What makes this really interesting is that it's not a new type of sound. It's the fact that you can plug any headset and make any headset into a 3D audio 7.1 surround sound situation. And it is backwards compatible with, or I shouldn't say backwards compatible, but you can use it for older games that, support 3D audio. As they get used to the features and whatnot, that's when you can hear like a really big difference. But that's the big lure to this, the fact that you don't need special headsets. You just plug it in and go. That's what the Tempest engine is all about. Next, another new thing that I wasn't aware of, which which is really cool. It's like these little touches like that that makes things feel like really, really next generation. It's the fact that at the home screen in its settings, buried in the settings, right? You have this global settings essentially where you can set your difficulty for all games that you place into the console. Apparently, at a level, a low level service, it could pick up things like your difficulty, whether you have the camera inverted or not, whether you have performance or the visual increase, and you can set that during the home screen so that anytime you put in a game, it will go into the game on the back end and fix it for you, which is really fucking cool. I believe you can have different. They did this with the PS4, which is nice as well, but you could change your button layout. You know what I mean? So that's really cool. If you use the right analog stick instead of the left, I don't know who does that, but you could definitely do it. Really cool shit. I like it. Next, a slight annoyance with the OS. There's a lot of features that are not in the OS, and I mean, we all know it's going to be patched in and things are going to be rearranged and whatnot. So we already know that much. There are no folders, just to let you know, as a side note. And the cards that you see at the bottom of the screen, which you saw during the UI experience, you cannot sort them in any kind of way. I've watched multiple videos, and it's just not a possibility as of yet. I think they just gave the general idea of the UI to everybody, just so they could feel around and get used to it and whatnot, like, you know, and things of that nature. So Giant Bomb did a video, and although I don't really like how they handled that video, it was just 40 minutes of complaints and not showing what their system was actually good doing. But this type of stuff kind of puts the fire under Sony's ass to release the folders and shit like that. It really should be in there, but since they made this from scratch, you know what I mean? They don't want to, you know, kind of focus on things that, you know, that won't work or will give bugs to it. They want to get the fundamentals down, and then they can go in and make adjustments and whatnot so they can get the console out. There's just a lot of little things that's in the UI that doesn't make sense or very cumbersome that I've heard. Not sorting out your cards is another thing that I'm not feeling. But it's a new generation, so there's that. Next. This one excites me because I'm sure you guys are aware that there's helpful tips that if you're a PlayStation, you know, Plus subscriber, it will have this effect in there. I am curious as to how they're going to make that shit work. You know what I mean? Uh, how many developers, I should say, are going to utilize these features? But from what I understand, pictures and videos can be converted into cards, which in turn can be shared. You can put captions and things like that without using the share factory. Really, really nice things. If you want to do like a quick, dirty sharing, you can just easily do that. Nice, nice, nice shit. I kind of figured that you were able to do that. There's some other things that I wish they would put in there, which I had in my other video. But, you know, we have to see, hope for the best with that one. But yeah, these apparently pictures and videos can be converted into cards and, and shared. Rumors were swirling around about the DualSense having worse battery life, something like 4 hours, which I believe the the DualShock 4 has about 6 hours of battery life under heavy use. So there were rumors swirling around that that it just had 6 hours of battery life, mainly due to the concerns of, all these haptic controls and 3D audio and all this other stuff that's in there. Yes, it has a bigger battery, but that can be worked as a catalyst to, all the new features, that the new features will be eaten into it. Well, it turns out that numerous sources report that the DualSense is 13 hours of battery life, which is almost double the battery life that you get with the DualShock 4. So never worry, even with the haptics, even playing the Astro's Playroom or whatever the fuck the name is, which is heavy usage on the haptic feedback and the DualSense control or the adaptive triggers, still was about 13 hours. So that's good news. Next. This piece of news actually scares me a little bit because I definitely watched multiple videos, and I found two, I believe. And one of the videos, they went into the media portion of the OS, which is at the home screen, and they showed Netflix and Peacock and things of that nature. And guess what wasn't in there? The fucking browser. How the fuck am I going to watch my X videos, X hamsters? How am I supposed to watch porn on my 4K TV? I'm not joking. I'm a little bit irritated about that. More importantly, um, I share my Twitter post with friends that's on the PlayStation network. And if there's no browser, there's no way to fucking view this thing. So I hope there's a browser, but from what I can see, there's no browser at the start of the PlayStation 5. This is a side effect to a brand new OS that was reworked, even though it has some similarities with the PS4. Not happy about this piece of news. I mean, the photos is one thing that we know, and who knows with this gated walled garden community thing that Sony's trying to do. I hope that they don't forget the browser. In lighter news, there are some launch titles that were basically running unlocked with the PlayStation 4. And since the PlayStation 5 is going about it a totally different way, I know that loading times was a really big thing. People were wondering why it didn't have as fast loading times as the Series X or the Xbox games in general. Please recognize that their APIs are completely different and it's based off of Windows. Microsoft may have a API system, the language for the processors that is a little bit more multi-plat friendly, and it's more specialized for the PlayStation 4, and that's what's causing those particular issues, and not utilizing the fast speed. It's still under the old, what is it, the GCN architecture. It's not going to utilize any of the fast usage. But one of the things that it did do is games that are unlocked typically runs at 60 frames locked. It's just flat out 60 frames. There's other side effects to having a game run at a higher frame rate, which I'll go into in my last piece. I think the last effect. But know that if the game is unlocked, or if the game is, if the game is unlocked, you do 60 frames per second. If it's locked, you will not have any kind of frame rate dips, which is absolutely amazing. We're going to go on to our last side effect our last fact, which is a side effect of the backwards compatibility, and it's a good thing. Now I'm going to get a lot of people that say, what the fuck you talking about? You don't know. You're not a developer. Woo, woo, woo. I'm not going to explain anything, or I'm not going to justify my findings and what I dug into. First and foremost, let me just tell you this, that the checkerboard rendering technique that they use involves within the 33 milliseconds or the 60 milliseconds for 60 frames per second games. During that time frame, it renders. There's missing pixels within the image if you're going to do checkerboarding, and the way to fill in these missing pixels is to look at the previous frame. So you're going to need continuous flow of a frame rate to fill in the missing gaps. There's also motion, and there's other calculations as well to find out what's the most similar pixel color, and then from that point on, it blends these pixels together with a bilinear filter, with some sort of filtering, to make it look smooth. Typically, the results are very close to its projection, whether it's 1800p or 4K, whatever the case is. But since these games from backwards compatibility are running at a much higher frame rate, 60 frames a second, it has more data to actually pull from, and thus checkerboard rendering at any capacity, it looks much cleaner, much cleaner than its original iteration. When you get a PlayStation 5, get Days Gone, which is free with the PlayStation Plus, and you can look at the fucking differences between the two if you still have your PS4. It's what Digital Foundry would say, transformative.